Welcome back to a very important Stranger Things video where the Duffer brothers spoil Season 4. I hope you all enjoyed that juicy trailer that they gave us. There was so much that we broke down in that last video. I can't believe they released so many huge spoilers, and to my surprise, they also dropped a video on IGN where they talk about everything that happened in the trailer and quite a bit about Season 4. It's a good watch, but I sat down and picked out all of the biggest things they confirmed that we didn't know until they literally tell us here. I'm not sure if they realize just how much they're telling us, or if they're just trying to do some more promotion for this season, or maybe if there's just so much stuff happening in Season 4 that all the stuff they're spoiling doesn't even compare to what's to come in the premiere. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, go down and punch that subscribe button in the face now that Season 4 content is here. We're going to be doing a lot of videos as we get close to release that you're not going to want to miss, so make sure you're subbed, and if you enjoy the video, hit the like button so it does well in the algorithm. We're going to talk about the biggest things Matt and Ross Duffer revealed in their Season 4 interview that they let slip out. But before we start, I also wanted to say thank you so much for all the support on the last video. I really appreciate all the love despite YouTube automatically disabling my comment section 5 different times. Yeah, that's right. If you notice the comments were turned off when you watched the video, it wasn't me. After I posted it, YouTube automatically has been turning off my comments. This really sucks to deal with, and it usually hurts the performance of the video, and to top it all off, it literally takes away our space to have a conversation about what we're trying to talk about. So I'm going to take this opportunity to plug the Discord. That's right, if the comments are ever turned off on a video ever again, we literally have a Stranger Things channel in our Discord for all things Stranger Things. If you ever want to meet some new people or talk about it when YouTube turned off the comments, you can always do it here. I'm going to leave the link in the pinned comment. Come check it out and say hi. But like I said, there's a lot we need to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. Season 4 is going to be very different from the first 3 seasons. This season is going to lean very heavily into the horror side of things, and now that the kids are maturing and going into high school, it only seems fitting to mature the show up with them. Right off the bat, they mentioned that the squad splitting up will play a very important role in the early season. Not only did Elle and the Byers move away, but later Joyce and Murray will meet up to go on an adventure to save Hopper. Lucas will be joining the basketball team and going through his jock arc, which is very different than what Mike and Dustin will be doing. It looks like they'll support him still, but I bet his time spent playing D&D with them will quickly get replaced by basketball practice, and this will no doubt be an area of conflict. It'll be interesting watching all the kids go into high school and try to make new friends going in different directions as they try to act like everything is normal. The Duffer brothers also mentioned that the Byers in California is like an ET setting. I can see physically and locationally how that works, but I wonder if their reference was any deeper, any symbolism to Elle being the sought-after test subject like ET was. They also referenced that this is their Game of Thrones season. Everyone is going to be so spread out doing their own thing. We're going to have the biggest, most spread out storylines yet. Hopefully they'll all be woven together in the end though. They also confirmed that the Voldemort looking dude in the trailer is in fact Vecna, as well as the voice that we hear monologuing in the trailer. They said that they've been wanting to do their own version of their own big supernatural baddie / Freddy Krueger Pennywise Pinhead, and this is that. They wanted to do something almost completely practical, going back to their Season 1 roots with the man in the Demogorgon costume. There's just something about having a physical monster on set for the kids to interact with and be terrified by that you just can't entirely replicate without. Season 2 and 3 used a lot of heavy CGI, which was fine. After the success of Season 1, they had the budget for it, and the script called for monsters that you needed CGI to bring to life. Demo dogs, the mind flare, the meat puppet, those are hard to make in real life and be realistic enough to have on set to act next to. So they said they were really happy that they made a humanoid type villain, which is actually 90% practical, meaning he basically looked exactly like this when he was on set interacting with the kids, which is not only really impressive, but it's also going to make for such a better performance from the kids. They also mentioned that he is going to have a very specific dark point of view. I can only imagine what this means. As of now, it seems like his goal is to invade Earth or take it over, turning it into the Upside Down, maybe to harvest resources or an army, I'm not sure. We got both vibes in the past, but they've emphasized so much everywhere how dark this season is, it's really making me curious at this point. They also mentioned that the characters will be dealing with all of the trauma that they accumulated from Season 3. This season picks up 6 months after the events of Season 3. There's no way you could move on from everything that happened so fast, The mall exploding and everyone almost dying was so much as it is, but to top it off with everyone moving away from each other, losing their best friends, and losing a father, Hopper, and a brother, Billy, are just all the cherries on top of the cake. There's enough trauma to go around multiple times for everyone. I'm kind of glad that they're not just sweeping it under the rug and moving on. It's going to be much more realistic to see the characters struggle with real-life tragedies and loss, which I'm sure a lot of us can relate to. They also confirmed that Max at Billy's grave from the trailer is in fact from episode 4, Dear Billy. They also said that Max will play a much larger role this season and will be struggling to deal with the grief and loss of her brother Billy. They also talk about how we're at the point now, 3 seasons in, where too much supernatural stuff has happened around Hawkins for the government to cover it all up. The mall fire was just too big to hide even though they tried, and it's all slowly starting to seep through the cracks, and the people around town are starting to notice and think that Hawkins is actually cursed, which, let's be real, it basically is at this point. Then they went on to say that not everyone is going to survive this season, which, I mean, people dying are a given, but I really hope that they're not talking about any main characters. I mean, let's be real, I think the biggest fear we all have for this season is that they're going to kill off our Steve. That goodbye between him and Nancy in the trailer before they go into the end battle in the Upside Down was just way too sus. Like, one of them isn't going to make it out. And chances are, if you watch the Stranger Things death video I did, you know the more likable the character, the more likely they are to get killed off. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat through the entirety of this season. They go on to talk about the darkness or the Upside Down and how it's not only happening in the Upside Down, but it's also leaking into our world too. And then they catch themselves and say, oh, well, psychologically, I mean.
All this darkness, it's not just occurring in the Upside Down, it's leaking now into our world and it's infecting the town itself. Not literally, but, psychologically.
Yeah, it was a good catch, but we can clearly see that with each portal, there's a little leakage. And I don't know if you saw, but they released 12 stills along with the trailer, one of them being the room we saw in the previous still with Dustin, Max, and Erica standing on the bed looking up at the bedsheet rope into a portal, but now the entire room is covered in vines. The Upside Down is literally leaking very fast and infecting the real world. I don't know how much time is between these photos, but this is a huge difference. And the save, psychologically, that could be with Vecna influencing the kids' minds or controlling them maybe, but I think they meant the Upside Down is physically entering our world this season, which is crazy. The threat sounds like it's going to be bigger than ever. They also went back to talk about the kids and how they really wanted to put them all in new situations this season as they go into high school to see how they all react. As they move on and make new friends, they're really going to struggle to see if they can keep their friendship between each other still alive. This is also going to be Eleven's first time really trying to fit in, which they sounded excited about. In season 1, she was only just learning about the outside world for the first time. In season 2, she was stuck in Hopper's cabin for most of the season, and in season 3, it was just summers, so she just hung out with the gang and didn't really have anywhere where she had to try to fit in. I think it's going to be so cool to see her have to try to fit in and adapt to high school out of all things this season. Teens can be brutal, and 11 is just going to be too wholesome for most of the kids. I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't find anywhere to fit in and just holds on to the excitement of seeing Mike during spring break, but at least she's trying, you gotta give her credit. Also, the Duffer brothers did mention that the clock is indeed a major key to the mystery the Hawkins gang is trying to solve. They also said that you don't want to see the clock. They said that if you see the clock, it's not great, which is crazy. We literally saw Max walking around by herself at school at night, and she sees the clock stuck in the wall. And then right after that, we see her in a new space, not the Upside Down. It's not blue and definitely not the real world. Some space in between that is controlled by Vecna. His tendrils are running everywhere. This is definitely his space, and she's being chased by him. And then we see her levitating at Billy's grave. The next scene is everyone hugging her like she just came back down from something crazy that just happened. Maybe Vecna used Billy to get to Max somehow, as we saw in the trailer. Vecna was awakened by someone or something, and maybe he used Billy's voice to talk to Max and lure her to the point where she saw the clock and he captures her mind. The Mind Flayer did something like this already with Will in season 2 and Billy in season 3. It's almost poetic that it happens to Max next. I only hope that she survives this. They then go on to say that out of everyone this season, Hop is doing the worst. They gave him the shortest end of the stick. He's literally alone in a Russian prison with no way out. Fighting Demogorgons, by the way. The poor guy is hanging on to dear life in this season. I can only imagine what he looks like by the time Joyce and Murray find him. They also talked about shooting the Russian scenes in Lithuania in the same place that the show Chernobyl was shot. I don't know if this is just a coincidence or not, but there's an entire Chernobyl season 4 theory. Chernobyl happened in real life on April 26, 1986. It was the worst nuclear disaster in history, and with season 4 taking place in April 1986, 1986 as well, there's almost no way they could do this season and not mention it. What if the final showdown at the end of this season takes place in the Upside Down or through a portal in Russia, and the fallout from Elle and Vecna fighting is just so big that the only way to cover it up is by using the Chernobyl event? Just an interesting theory. The dates line up perfectly, and now they tell us they literally shot it in the same location. I mean, I feel like they're just toying with us at this point. They're just fueling the fire. They also describe Joyce's journey to rescue Hopper this season as an epic adventure, which I'm sure it more than will be, and I can't wait to see them go to Russia. Next, they confirm that the diner scene with Elle and Sam Owens when he asked for her help in fighting the war against Vecna is only 5 minutes long, but nonetheless, Sam Owen will play a huge role this season. They also talk about the Creel house being their haunted house this season, letting them really lean into the horror aspect like they wanted. The new monsters they're introducing this season, along with Vecna, is in fact Demobats. Basically, the flying version of a Demogorgon, complete with wings and a tail. In Season 2, we got the Demo Dogs, in 3, we saw a white variation in Russia, and now Demobats. These are so cool. Apparently one on its own isn't too bad, but when there's many at once, it becomes an issue very fast, becoming very dangerous for anyone nearby. Do you know who we saw fighting Demobats in the trailer? Steve. Are you kidding me? Come on. They also said that they gave them kind of a gothic vampire quality to them, but they just better not kill Steve. Leave him alone. Then for one of my favorite shots from the trailer, they said apparently they've always wanted to do a gladiator style sequence with a Demogorgon, and they were super excited to shoot a Demogorgon in the snow this season. Apparently the gladiator sequence is going to be absolutely mental. They built the set as big as they could and called it the Demo Pit. And the reason they made it so big is that so they could really just let the Demogorgon loose, running and flying around the pit at full speed. They also referred to Eddie, the new character, as a metalhead dungeon master nerd. Basically, this show's equivalent of a scruffy looking nerf herder. They talk about how the Upside Down is coming into our world this season and how the events will just keep getting more horrific, and this is going to largely impact our characters, including Max, who will play a big part in this season. I mean, we definitely got that vibe from the trailer, but the Upside Down coming into our world this season, I feel like that's crazy. We've seen little teases at that over the last 3 seasons, but it sounds like the problem's going to be front and center this time. Instead of being on the offensive, going into the Upside Down and attacking the Mind Flayer, they're going to be on the defensive, trying to protect our world more than ever this time. And when they talked about the clock and how bad it was that Max saw it, it almost implied that the clock is Vecna's way of getting a hold over someone and unlocking their mind, getting access to influence them and communicate with them, and maybe even make Max float like it looks like. I can only hope that Max doesn't go crazy and start killing people under Vecna's curse. If this is the same thing that happened to Victor Creel that made him gouge his own eyes out and kill his family, and the same thing that made the rabbit gouge his own eyes out, this could get really bad for Max. I can't help but think of that shot of traumatized Lucas. I don't know if this is his reaction to Max killing Erica or something under Vecna's curse, or maybe Vecna getting a hold over him too, or maybe even him just watching Vecna torture or kill Max. Whatever he saw is the worst thing possible. 10 out of 10 worst case scenario is happening, and I'm worried for our main characters. What do you guys think? And also, do you guys remember from the last video, I asked you whether you thought this shot of 11 blasting the guards away was a pre-season 1 flashback or current day? Well, the Duffer brothers went ahead and confirmed that this is not a flashback. This is indeed current day. They also said that we're going to be seeing a lot of 11's backstory this season, which I'm super excited about. I've always wanted to see more of Hawkins' lab and her time there with the other numbers. We're going to be spending a lot of time there in flashbacks earlier than we've ever seen before, just to get a look at what happened with the other numbers. And they also said that since they didn't spend too much time in the Upside Down last season, since the story didn't really call for it, they made up for it this season on purpose by spending way more time in there than they ever have before. I was also thinking about Steve fighting the Demobats in the concert in the Upside Down. Originally, we were thinking that they were using it as a distraction to lure them away from something, but listen, bats and music. Bats use echolocation or sonar systems to see where they're going, and by throwing a rock and roll concert in the Upside Down, you are literally creating interference with their sonar, jamming their systems, essentially damaging their senses. This would make them more vulnerable to attacks and also disrupt communication they might be getting from Vecna to attack the kids or something. Just a cool little detail I thought you'd appreciate. They also mentioned that Victor Creel will play a very pivotal point in the show. I figured he would, especially in the past with the curse and the clock, but I hope he stays a big part of the story and mystery in current day too. What do you think you're most excited for so far? Tell me in the comments. I'll be back soon with another video, but until then, I will see you in the comments. Peace.